Which way do I want to go? There we go. Good morning, early bird classroom. How are you? Woo! I am here and we're ready to get started. I know I'm a little overexcited for this early in the morning, but the birds are up. The workers are working. I'm up and working and online, and I even have, I'm getting on right now, my, although I left it inside, I can't believe I ran out with my shoes and then left it inside. I even have my coffee already because we are ready to go. And on Wednesdays, it looks like we're going to do a full hour. So the big thing for us on Science Wednesdays is that we want to learn how to, right now, be observers. And the thing that I was thinking about when I was observing yesterday was that observation doesn't an understanding of what you're seeing. Observation and questions. Observe and start thinking of questions. And the questions come really easy. Like, what's going on here? That's a good question. A lot of times it's like, what's going on here? But usually your questions are more specific than that, right? Like, I have a question of what's going on here. So observation, question. And the thing about observation is this, and I said this in one of my other classrooms. I think it was critical thinking yesterday, and I wanted to remember to tell you, early birds, is that observation doesn't have to take hours. It's not like, all right, I'm going to sit down and from 2 to 3 o'clock, I will be observing. Although it's not a bad practice. What I mean is to get into practice with learning how to observe. That's not a bad practice, okay? But when I observe and understand and think about things for you and for us to talk about here, that's going to keep popping open. I'm just letting you know. As it already just did. I think about them, and it only takes me a couple seconds to actually think about them. Let me show you what I mean, all right? So here, I've been talking a lot about these plants here and about how suspicious they look, many of my plants. We're going to talk about them again today. I'm sorry if you're bored with that. Too bad. So sad. I'm not, because it really is a scientific observation for me, is what it is. And so I was sitting in this chair the other day, and remember that these leaves turn, I can't remember, it's a silver leaf something or other. And that's why. Because when these plants lose their leaves, when they dry up in the fall time, although that's a suspicious part. If a plant is not acting like a plant, what does a plant act like? Gets seeds and reproduces and makes more plants. That's what a plant acts like, all right? But this isn't acting like a plant because, and it's not because it's not a plant. It's because there has been somebody who has, what's the word I'm looking for? Compromised the life of this plant. That's what happened here. The life of this plant has been compromised. How can I tell? Well, I observe, right? I observe and then I ask questions. And the question I ask that I can tell about this is that it's not living. It's not living. It's not reproducing. So I know if it's not doing what a plant is supposed to do, it's been compromised. And in this day and age, when something's been compromised, it's in nature. If it's in nature and it's been compromised, it has to be compromised by basically a higher power that can manipulate this. Man. But let me show you what else I observed, which I thought was really cool. So you could see here, I've got this plant right there that's laying down, so uprooted, right? I something fell on it, but I don't know why that's so easily uprooted. But it could be easily uprooted in nature. That would be actually an altruistic move for its children. What are those seeds? What's going to happen to those seeds of that plant that's laying down right there? What is going to happen to those seeds of that plant that's laying down right there? And I can walk in this myrtle because this myrtle will grow right back very easily all over. This is myrtle here, okay? What's going to happen to the seeds of this plant? They're going to go all over here, aren't they? So as I was, I got a good one, I'm so glad. So as I was sitting here observing, oh, like an old lady, hold on just a minute. As I was observing, I went and I put my fingers and I went to go look at the seeds again, right? And I'll make it look a little bit better here. And look at what I noticed. And see, this is how you could tell that the plant has been damaged, because look at those seeds are probably not going to reproduce. They just don't look very good, right? Seeds are supposed to, look at a seed, you know, seeds are supposed to not be brown. Brown means, you know, near death in the plant world, right? We know that. Brown means near death in the plant world. But look at what's inside there. Look at all those seeds on both sides, and then look at the protection of the seeds on the inside. And this is what is left. But if I recall, these are two pieces as well. But look at that. I don't want to actually destroy it. I just think it's so, look at that. I think it's so beautiful, isn't it? When somebody hasn't destroyed it. So, the point here, and here's a seed, and here's a seed. That's not very good, is it? Here we go. And the point I'm trying to make here is that it doesn't take long, unless you're trying to show it on camera. It doesn't really take long to observe. Geez. There we go. There's a seed. But it's not really easy to see. And it's not a great seed because it's all brown. Seeds don't belong brown. But isn't that, look at that. Look at that in nature. And you could see then that was a silver leafed or something or other like that was the name of it. Let's move on and see what else we could see. Now, I was not able, and I'm not going to worry about it right now, actually pulling up our plant diagram. I pulled it up yesterday and I looked at it, and the diagrams aren't exactly correct. So some people did not observe the plant. Oh, no. My recording, and that's not true. You have it. You do have sufficient memory. Give me a sec. Okay, I'm going to need a second to start recording again because it just doesn't seem to record, but that's okay. Exactly when I need it to record. Oh, and it is. It's just that I unplugged something and it's very temperamental. The plug-in for my disc. Let's take a look at how these flowers are doing over here, shall we? And get a real close-up of those flowers. There we go. Well, sort of. It's not that I have to be in the picture, it's that the flower does, and I'm not getting it in, and I don't know why. There we go. And see? There we go. And we're looking also at the leaf as well. When we're trying to discover a plant, we want to look at the colors of the flower. Of course, that's an easy way to look up the kind of plant that it actually is. But remember, we were also hunting trees and leaves. And what I noticed is that when I looked at these pictures, it wasn't always easy to determine the leaf in nature for me. But when I looked at pictures of their fruits or their flowers, because trees do flower, or they bear fruit, right? Like a peach tree or an apple tree would bear fruit, but they also bear seeds, right? Like those little helicopter seeds that we see all over in the springtime. So I did have, oh, here they are. Here's some helicopter seeds.
I was filming that.
Well, here are some, but the seeds are all gone, right? So they look like this. I'll see if I see some more of these. But where I wanted to bring you right now was to our tomato plants. So to take a look at, for the plant, the fruit, the flower, and the leaf. Sometimes the fruit is an acorn, right? The flower always looks like a flower, right? Just like those flowers right back there. But sometimes they're bigger and sometimes they're very tiny. So here, I'm gonna get my stand here because it helps me. So, I don't want to disrupt my recording. All right, look. All right, so here is our tomato plant. And you can see here, I'm going to be really, really careful. Oh, but here's a perfect view. I'm going to get a bit closer. So give me a sec. Look at the flowers here. So you could see the flowers here. Like I said, and identify it, but look at what's next to the flower. Look at that. I feel like I got poked with something. A little teeny tiny cherry tomato. And where does this cherry tomato come out of? Look at it comes right out of that where the little flower was. Look at these. Look at all those little tomatoes. And look at all of these flowers here. And so what we are going to get out of every one of those flowers is each one of those. I'm going to try and show you another really tiny one if I can find one coming here. Look at this. Oh, my back is going to break in a sec. Here. Oh, look at the flower just dropped off. And right there exactly is where the little tiny tomato will eventually emerge. Look at the teeny tiny tomato right there that is coming up as those flowers drop. Look at right here. You could begin to see right there where that tomato is going to actually emerge out of that flower. I found that to be utterly amazing. Here, more tomatoes, look at, and more flowers. And underneath, when you look at those flowers, sometimes you could find the smallest of tomatoes right there. The smallest of tomatoes. Look at the flowers, and underneath you'll find the teeniest, tiniest, smallest of tomatoes. So that's nature and our tomato plants. Here's my flowers. And I wanted to show you again where I knew that there's foul play. Why? I gotta start recording here if I can. There we go. How do we know there's foul play? We know there is foul play because this is not providing life. That's not providing life. But here we've got some new flowers coming in. Look at the tiny little blossoms that are coming in here. Let me show you something else in the back about some foul play that I've been wanting to show you. And again, remember, all of this has to do with observation, right? Remember I found these plants here and I didn't know exactly what they were, and I still don't know exactly what they are, but they're not blossoming like I expected them to. And so I've been pulling them out down here, and I'm going to be getting rid of those plants. We can see here when we observe that some bugs did get to these plants. Number one, I've been seeing beetle bugs that would eat those plants. But number two, yeah, moving dirt and not working on that house. Those walls over there, they look like they're about 5 feet walls. So I think that this house is being made for munchkins. So I keep waiting, but I happen to possibly think that maybe these aren't the best plants. But again, or legal plants is what I'm saying, for me anyway. But I look at, what do I look at? I look at the flower and I look at the leaf. Come on, let's see what else we can find out. Well, watch these guys move the dirt too. Kind of a cool thing, right? Yeah. Now I don't have my gloves on, and I really did want my gloves because I don't know what I'm touching. But I think it might be salt, is what I think it might be. And knowing that there's foul play. That right there, it could be poop. But the thing about it is, and that would do that to my lawn, right? But the thing about it is that poop disintegrates. It doesn't sit there forever. That's been there for about 4 weeks since I started coming out here and showing you the... Can you see the difference in the grass there? Look here, where I've spread grass seed, nothing growing. Over here, we have the same exact problem in that patch of grass right there, right? Kentucky bluegrass. So this is what I say, that over here by the lake, there should be no reason that this grass is brown, especially, look at the grass right next to it. You can see the difference in grass. Kentucky bluegrass, right? Here, other grass, which seems to be more like Michigan grass here, no problem. We've had rain almost every single day, and if the grass gets dry at all, I water the grass. So that should not be problem numero uno. Let me show you these beautiful plants that I have over here though. And then we're gonna go inside because I'm low on battery and we've got to do some math as well, right? What time is it? Oh, I'm doing good on time. I'm doing okay. Here you can see I planted grass seeds here, but nothing has come up. That is from a patch of leaves that were sitting on there, and the leaves were so filled with poison that that's what they did to my grass. So that's what they've been doing, is poisoning. This here on the leaves, this plant has been growing perfectly well, and now all of a sudden we've got this on the leaf edges here. Somebody said, oh, acid rain. Do you think acid rain would do that? What would rain do to a plant? What would rain do to a plant? It certainly wouldn't only touch the edges there. I had a gentleman come out and ask me if I wanted him to spray for spiders. I said, no, the spiders are good and I don't want people on my property, and why are you soliciting me since I have a sign? Now all of a sudden, look at what I have here on my property. You know, the same thing with these flowers here that were destroyed very early on when I first planted them. Look at the water. Look at how moist the soil is. Yet these plants will not reproduce and are not reproducing. That's not what happens in nature. In nature, when a flower dies, they don't get all moist like that. That's not what happens. They dry up from the heat and the sun. They don't just die. Remember what I showed you of with the plants down over there? How they basically glued them shut, right? So they were all gooey, and they were almost as if they were moldy, as if, and then they're hard as a rock where all the seeds are. That doesn't happen in nature, right? Here, this plant here, which was watered about 150 times, and it could not live. Remember the plants I showed you before that were sprayed black? Let me show you. That had 1 or 2 branches that were sprayed black. One of them completely died, and now the other one has completely died as well. Let's make sure. There we go. Right here. Look at that. Look at that. Completely. That's root rot. You get root rot from too much watering. Well, they weren't having too much water because the plants right next to them ended up dying because they didn't have enough water, or ended up getting brown. They didn't die. Remember I told you this plant? I showed you that pineapple plant there, and I had on one of my shows this past weekend, I was showing you these nettles. These nettles are from the story that we were reading, The Wild Swan, right? The Wild Swans. Look at those. Those are nettles there. You could see the prickers. That's what she was scrunching with her feet to turn it into thread that she was sewing the shirts for her brothers. So the one thing that we didn't get to is we didn't get to really take a look at, and this is mainly because I was running out of battery, and I realized I had my computer out late last night without being plugged in. But we didn't get to look at the leaves of the different plants, and I really wanted to do that. We still have a lot of time, so we might get to it at the end. But remember what I said. When we're identifying a plant out there, I found it to be rather difficult, to be perfectly honest with you. I didn't find it to be easy. There are trees that I recognize easily. This tree here, and this tree here is a maple. I'm going to show you, and it's in the middle of the very center of the leaves there. But you can see that the maple tree I'm showing you here, right there, is red. That's a red maple tree. One of the most beautiful trees in my mind It's a hardwood. And this also is another way that you could find out your leaves. I'm sorry, your trees, is by looking at the wood. Let me show you something. Although, are you kidding me? I have these shoes tied up and I'm still stepping on the shoelace. How could that possibly be? So, gotta retie. Did you wash your face this morning? Did you brush your teeth this morning? 2 important things for you to do to get ready for your day. Lucy, shh. So, here is a leaf. This leaf is actually a willow leaf. But here is the maple leaf. Now these have fallen off the trees and I just got them off of my porch because I can't reach over there and get one of those beautiful red maple leaves from off of that tree. But we can certainly see, oh look, here's a big one. These are broadleaf trees. They are deciduous. They have big broad leaves that are flat, and deciduous means to fall off. They fall off the tree, right? These leaves turn color and they fall off the tree, right? Let's take a look at our, it's not it, our lesson. Nope, don't need to do that. I'll do this. And let's get this where we can get the most benefit. Let me see what Lucy's barking at, because those guys have been out there working for a long time, and as I've said, I've had strangers all around, and she's smelling something that she doesn't like. It's probably the neighbor. Lucy, over here, please. Lucy. Okay, all right. So there we can see deciduous. All right, let me get my self in the right picture here. Yeah, I know. That's really just, there we go. That's at least a little better, right? Deciduous means to fall off. Specifically, that's what the word means, to fall off. So we remember deciduous trees are the trees that have leaves that fall off. Conifers, if you could remember that word from, produces cones. Let me get my drawing up here. There we go. Draw. Yeah, that looks good. Okay. So, if you remember that the word basically has the word cone in it, you could remember that coniferous means to produce cones, or produces cones. So, what produces cones? Cones. I mean cones? Like cones? No, cones like pine cones, right? Hold on. I was trying to think, where are my pine cones? And I couldn't think. Oh, But I did want to show you this. Look at that. A little baby red maple. Where'd I find this little baby red maple? All over the place, because they really do reproduce like rabbits. Or we could say like maple trees is what we could say, right? That's not the view I want. But here's what I do want to show you. And this plant here is where I got that maple tree. So that's a dehumidifier there. That's where I get my water to water my plants. So look, right there, right here, a little tiny maple tree. Here, right there, another little teeny tiny maple tree. Let me make sure I'm not gonna stop my recording. And I did. It's so sensitive. Not the best place to be starting the recording. There we go. Okay, let me bring it down here. And can you see, this is a candle. And can you see here? Oh, here are my socks. You want to look at my socks? Can you see that? Look at that little baby. Oh, you want me to get it a little closer? You can see that little baby? See the little baby? Hold on, you want me to get a little, hold on just a minute. There you go. Now you're like, oh my gosh, did she just uproot that tree? Yeah, I did, because there's a million of them all over the place, and I really don't want a tree growing in with my beets, right? Those are beets over there. Not that anything is growing, right? Because nothing really does grow anymore with regular normal seeds anymore. So hundreds of dollars spent on seeds and nothing is reproducing. Just like those other plants outside, right? So there is, since a plant naturally wants to reproduce, you know there's foul play. This plant isn't going to reproduce. See how the redness in there? That's a red maple. Not the same as that other plant that we saw up there with the seeds, right? Yeah, that was turning red. That was foul play. It turned red and then brown. It looked literally like there was blood in there, which there could have been. You don't know what these people are putting in our land anymore. We just don't know. There's the root system. And you can see that there are major root systems, primary root system, right here, and then secondary root systems, and then little tiny hairs. So they get every piece of nutrient that they could possibly get from the soil. That's how they pick up the nutrients, is all through the root system that's in the soil. And there we have our red maple. So that leaf in the middle is the maple leaf. And remember what we said. And there are different kinds of maple leaves, different kinds of maples. Just like there's different kinds of ash trees, and there are different kinds of birch trees. But generally, that's the maple leaf. And we know that from the Toronto Maple Leafs. Do we not pay any attention to hockey? Hello! We learn our leafs that way. Apparently a lot of maple leafs in Canada. Let me show you something else. I'm going to show you something else that I think that you will find interesting. I gotta unplug, which likely means I'm gonna unplug my... Yep,